And we are now joined by two-time 24-hour Le Mans champion, former Porsche Super Cup champion, and the defending WeatherTech Sports Car Championship champion in GTLM and Porsche factory driver Earl Bamber. Earl, welcome to the broadcast, and thanks for coming on and being a part of it.
Yeah, thank you for having me along to watch some of these races.
We've had a pretty good program tonight. A lot of drivers who are very invested in sim racing, a lot of Porsche owners who like the computer racing side of it as well. And I think over the years, we've seen how this has developed. I think especially in the past 10, that simulation training has really come a long way. And the technology has gotten close enough to where you really can learn a few things just by running through a sim over and over and over again. So first off, what do you feel like the correlation is between sim training and real life racing? And what have you gained from training in the sim and in iRacing when you get back out on the real track?
Yeah, that's a good question. What do we use it for in the sort of real world and stuff like that? So I think if anyone's had a look online, probably the hardcore Porsche fans, you've seen the videos of the simulator that we've got in Visa, which is a big motion platform simulator. We started using that with the LMP1 program. And for us, it's different probably to what you guys do, because you guys focus on sim racing and getting the fastest that you can out of the sim. And we all know it's pretty close sim racing, but there's still a special technique in being able to drive a simulator fast. So we need to make sure that we don't drive it purely as a sim. We need to keep it as close as we can to reality and stuff like that. So it's quite a difficult mix, but we use it a lot for fuel saving, a lot these days, and strategy. And we use it a lot for hardware simulation as well. So we do a lot of software simulation inside of there. So basically, when we arrive at an IMSA track, we know nearly everything from the simulator. We do about 2 days in the sim before every circuit, and then we do post-sim as well to recorrelate it for the next time.
So it's almost more about just making sure that you have both an understanding of how all the high-tech software and hardware works within the car, and then maybe a little bit of track learning as well, but making sure that you're more familiar with the car, I guess, than anything else.
Yeah, we're to be familiar with the car. Also, if we bring, like, let's say, a new software into the dash, that we want to make sure all that sort of stuff works. Because for us, when we run the simulator, we've got 2 or 3 engineers, and it's run exactly like the race car, and it operates like the race car in the background. So we can simulate failures as well, and failure procedures as well. So that's really important for us as drivers. When we go to a new track, we definitely use that. The hard thing is the tires always. The hard thing is to make sure, because we're in an open tire battle and we go with new tires every single year, to know what they're going to do. So generally do a little bit of tire testing. I have done tire tests in the past on our simulator base. So going through temperature models and thermal models with tire testing. So that's also quite a challenge inside a simulator.
But all useful things that you can take with you to the track, once you've got a good feel for them. Now, obviously, there's all the hardware training and all the bits and pieces of the car that you learn, but there's also a little bit of circuit learning as well that I know takes place. And how useful can that be, especially if it's a place that you haven't seen before? I know that the number of places you haven't been to is dwindling week on week, but still, I figure if there's a new circuit that you haven't been to, the sims are very useful in helping you learn the track, no?
Yes, definitely. It's very useful to learn the track. When I was younger, I used to use it a lot, actually, to learn the tracks and where it went. Actually, the most recent one that I did, and I'm going to use a bad word here, when I went to Mexico for the LMP1, I actually bought Formula 1 game because it was one of the easiest platforms, and learnt the track from that playing Formula 1, I think 2017 game. So just to know the track layout. And what's also really important is how to get the speed there. So, you know, is it better to go fast in, slow out, you know, all those sorts of things. And you get sort of a feeling about how you generate a fast lap time there as well. So for us, we've got to still remember that it's a tool, because people do get blurred between that and they say, oh, in the sim, I could do this. So you got to make sure that it's a tool. And also, I think if anyone's really in depth with what we're doing, we're sort of tuning the cars and our driving technique on the way the track's developing on the weekend. I know that iRacing's working on this, that the track gets rubbered in. I was watching the NASCAR broadcast, and they did that the other day, that they've got this model. So that's really cool that that's already coming to sim racing. So we're also tuning the cars around that on a race weekend, and temperature and stuff like that. So we know if we have a GS race before, that generally the track will be different to if you've got a cup race before and stuff like that. So we're in those sorts of details, which is just a weekend by weekend thing. So it's definitely a really cool tool that that I used a lot. I'm actually ordering one right now because I'm in the middle of nowhere, so I need a sim.
Yeah, it'd be a little bit handy to have one nearby and all that. I think to the rubbering end of the track, that's where the, as we know it, the track state slider comes in handy, where you can adjust the amount of rubber that's down on the circuit before you even take a lap out there. So certainly something that folks in iRacing will be very, very familiar with. But
well, we had that. We've got the difficult thing. We had that in the prototype, where you would take a new car, so we had a new model of a new car, and we would start doing ridiculous lap times. And then you always have to work out to yourself, well, is it that we've made a fantastic car, or is it that we're out of the grip simulation model? So
fair.
it's quite a really, really difficult one. And then sometimes you'd go to yourself, oh, that's not possible. Like, it's so fast, it's not possible. So you'd reduce the model grip, but then actually when you went to the track, sometimes we'd actually be that fast with the real car. So sometimes it's quite phenomenal. It's a difficult one to judge.
Well, that's the beauty of blurring the line between simulation and reality when the tech is so advanced. What about stints and stint training and just length of races, especially for the endurance races? Does the simulator help you train for just the sort of mental state that you need to be in, especially if you get to double and triple stinting within a long event?
Actually, I've never done a long run in the simulator.
So we're that's what we'll have to add to the list then.
Yeah, I think the most that we go is like 10 to 15 laps in the sim at one time. I mean, what we do with the procedure is quite difficult, because we do it in like 5 to 10 lap block setup changes. And then we've got to try do those setup blocks time and time again. So it's basically like 5 to 10 laps, stop, change for 1 minute, another 5 or 10 laps, stop, change, and continuously go like that. So it is quite, let's say it's quite a strenuous thing when you spend like 3 hours in the morning in there just doing those setup blocks. So we don't do a continuous long run, but we do like a long block of a couple hours every time, doing these setup changes and stuff like that, and doing a test block. So it is quite difficult. You sort of come out mentally drained, actually.
So it almost ends up putting you in the same mental place. It's just a different way to get there, I suppose.
I mean, to be honest, the level of concentration that it takes to drive the sim on the limit is exactly the same as a race car. I would say it's actually more mentally draining, especially on the ice, because you have to sort of use a different sensory motive, rather than, we've got the G-force and the movement from the car, rather there you're really reliant on your hands and your eyes and your feet. So, that's a different set of skills. So when you really are on the limit, it's quite draining, actually. You get out quite tired, as many sim racers would probably know.
Right, especially those who have done the 24 hours of Le Mans and done the 24 hours of Daytona, especially in either the 919 or, in our case, the 911 RSR GTLM, which is the car of choice for the series. Now, obviously, we know you have a little bit of experience with that machine. So for all the sim racers and everybody in PCA Sim Racing that is currently trying to come to grips and find the most speed out of the GTLM, do you have any tips for all of our drivers as to how to make that car a little bit faster and how to maybe shave a tenth or two off your lap time?
Wow. I wonder how the rear brake locking is for all of them out there, because we always struggled with rear brake locking. I don't know how it is for them, but that's what we struggle with. But God, I probably have to quote my teammate, where he just says he hates understeer. And we try to dial as much understeer out of it as possible all the time. And basically we got to a point where we didn't have any understeer. If you watch some of our onboard videos at the moment that you see on Twitter, it's quite edgy. And we always say normally an edgy car is a fast car. So I would say try to get rid of the understeer, and then should be pretty quick normally.
Balance it out a little bit. Fair enough. And then I guess
the ride height low.
Yeah.
Get the ride height low.
As low as you can without completely scraping off the under tray.
Oh no, we don't mind about the under tray. We just want it to be low.
Fair. It's extra weight, right?
Yeah, and you can push reset and get a new one, so it's all right.
That's beautiful. Fair enough. So now, once you get your rig in, I figure you might get the chance to have a little bit of fun with it. Are there any sort of track car combinations that you sort of have in mind that you want to get familiar with, you want to run, it's things that you're looking forward to while you're sort of stuck here? You're obviously probably going to find a lot of time on the sim. So anything that sort of jumps out to you?
Well, actually, I want to go race the Super Cup just because I want to troll my teammate Lawrence in there.
I had a hunch. And by the way, I believe if you all haven't read about the fantastic Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Super Cup that's going to come back a little bit later this year, definitely worth going to put your eyes on that and learn a little bit more about what's coming in that this year. But I figure that should be a very fun series, especially with the GT3. It's a brilliant little machine, though.
Yeah, so I watched the first race, actually. I stayed up till 3:30 in the morning to watch that race and to see how Lawrence would go. And then he crashed in qualifying. And then I think Tandy and him flipped on the first lap. So actually it was a really entertaining race. So because I'm a big racing fan, so even though there's no real racing, I'm watching all the sim racing. But it made me want to get actually get a sim while I'm here. I can see you've got a steering wheel right in front of you. So I'm thinking about just getting G29 because that would be probably the easiest thing to buy from the store right now. But all the stores are closed in New Zealand and it's not allowed to be bought right now. So I have to wait a few weeks. And probably where I am with the internet connection, I'll have so much lag that I'll probably just hit everybody off because I don't even realize. But I think it would be really cool. And also it'd be nice to get my mind back into driving and stuff like that. I used to play, before iRacing came around, a lot of Gran Turismo as well. I learned the Nürburgring, the Nordschleife, exactly from that.
So you've got a little bit of experience, and it's just a matter of making sure that we can get Telstra or somebody to actually pump out a good internet connection to make sure you won't have any lag. I figure that's the biggest issue. But if you mention to them that you have a former 24 Hours Le Mans champion that wants to go sim racing and could use a decent pipe to the internet, maybe they'd be a little bit more amenable. That'd be the hope, right?
Yeah, actually, my sponsor, the Guild Track Group of Porsche New Zealand, they've got a massive simulator up at their office. So as soon as we get out of lockdown in New Zealand, which I hope will be in a few weeks, I think we'll probably be earlier than most people, then for the big sim races, I think I might just go sit up there in their office and play it endlessly. That could also be a solution.
So I would say, if it won't get out all the way to you, then just go to them and make it happen. That's fair. And get back into the swing of things so that when we get back to the real life thing, you'll be ready to go.
Yeah, exactly. That would be the plan.
A good plan. I like that plan. Earl, thank you so much on behalf of everybody at PCA and everybody involved with PCA Sim Racing for taking the time to talk to us. And hopefully it won't be too long before we see you back on track. And best of luck when you finally do get back on track racing.
Thank you, and good luck for everyone on the races today.
We'll see how it goes.